Welcome to the Celebrating Women podcast. Mandee and Ashley Fisher dig into conversation about women, their issues, their thoughts, their lives, and celebrate their gifts, their talents, their courage. It's the Celebrating Women podcast. Presented by Hand and Stone Massage and Facial Spa in Tyler, Texas. Hey, it's Mandee. And, I've shared the secret of where I go to relax and unwind with you. Hand and Stone Massage and Facial Spa in Tyler. They have become an essential part of my self-care routine. I go monthly, sometimes even more frequently, to get a massage. And recently I booked with Amanda. Sometimes I go in to get tough work done, and other days I really just need to relax. And as my shoulders always need work, I asked Amanda to focus there. On this particular day, I really just wanted to space out and chill. And wow, did she deliver. As she began to work, she asked about pressure, and I told her to dig in where she felt it necessary. And oddly enough, she dug in on my arms. I didn't realize how tense they were, but it felt so good. She was so smooth and really just found the right amount of pressure in the areas I needed it. And I was able to just unwind and simply chill. Sounds pretty good, right? If you need to schedule your appointment, you can do so by visiting Hand and Stone Massage and Facial Spa, located in Cumberland Shopping Center, or book online at handandstonetyler.com.
Welcome back to the Celebrating Women podcast. I'm Ashley Fisher.
I'm Mandee Unkefer.
Hi, friend.
Hello.
It's just us today. I like, we've said this before. We love our guests, and we love it when it's just the two of us. It's like evening time. We're kicking up our heels and just chatting.
Yeah, this is the first time we've done an evening chat. I'm kind of surprised we didn't bring a bottle of wine.
Okay,
that's a
we need to do that. That's yeah. Can we make that happen?
We can make that happen. We can. But we wanted to do something a little bit different today.
Yeah.
We've not taken a test and talked about it on the podcast before, but here we are.
We're taking tests now.
Yes. Personality tests. Have you done many of these over the years?
I have done a few. My favorite that I've taken is the Strengths Finder.
Oh, I love that one too.
That's my favorite. It's the one that's been the most revelatory. Like at first, my first main personality trait that it gave me, I was like, this is stupid. That's not it. And then I'm telling you, the more time went on, I'm like, that thing was dead on. You know what?
Another time when we can bring both of them in and look at them together, we should do an episode on that too, because it blew my mind as well. And I also had a similar reaction. I was expecting it to one of my strengths to be the fact that I talk to people, but my strengths ended up being more on strategic thinking.
Interesting.
3 out of 5.
Which makes sense because if you're good at talking with people, it is because you've got some strategery.
Maybe. It just really surprised me. It was surprising, but also very interesting. Yeah. And to know which of my friends had similar strengths and which of them had strengths that complemented mine maybe instead of were in alignment with. So that was fascinating. But the one that we took, I posted it on our Facebook. I don't know how many people are following. We don't have a huge following there yet, but 16personalities.com, and that's the number 16personalities.com, is kind of a light version of the Myers-Briggs test, if you're familiar with that. And I don't remember who initially told me about this. It may have been my friend Brandy. She really enjoys Myers-Briggs. We each took the test to come up with our personality. And do you want to share what yours was?
Yeah, I was surprised.
You were?
I was. I didn't expect it, but they said, it says your personality type is adventurer. And adventurers are flexible and charming, always ready to explore and experience something new. And I would not have described myself that way.
Really?
No. But at the same time, here I am, I've started a business, a photography business, and I've been doing that for almost a decade, and I'm going down the adventure of being a podcaster. So I guess that does kind of make sense.
And you are flexible. I mean, your schedule's pretty flexible, and you like the flexibility in your schedule.
I have to have that, or else I will go insane.
Yeah. So when I was reading it, I immediately thought of you. I was like, oh, this resonates when it said adventurers are true artists. I was like, well, yeah, absolutely. Ashley is not only a photographer, but she's doing this creative outlet of podcasting. And I know you blog a little bit on your Instagram account. And of course, with your lipedema journey, you're doing some of that as well. Yeah. And I was like, no, this totally makes sense. it says on this site, it goes on to say that for your personality type, life itself is a canvas for self-expression.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, that fits.
Yeah, that does fit.
Totally you.
Yeah.
Totally you. And it says every adventurer is certainly unique. So other people that are this personality type might not be just like you.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that there are some overarching traits and similar. So if you follow Myers-Briggs, the letters associated are ISFP. Introverted, observant, feeling, and prospecting.
What does prospecting mean?
I don't know. Let's see. Let me click on this link and see if it tells me. The prospecting personality figures things out as they go. That tracks.
That tracks, because we were definitely just talking about how that's kind of how I live my life. And I think, and I do, like, I run people crazy who are much more type A. My mother-in-law, like, she loves to make a plan. She'll make a plan 3 months in advance, and my brain just wants to explode. I'm like, I can't do that.
I don't know what'll be happening 3 months from
now. I don't
now.
know what could be happening.
I might be starting a podcast.
So, exactly. So, I think I probably drive her insane at times because she's like, you didn't think about this 2 months in advance? I'm like, no, I'm just trying to get through today.
And sometimes that's the way it is. It says prospecting individuals are much more flexible when it comes to dealing with unexpected challenges.
Yeah.
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 You never know.
That's
This
so
flexibility helps them seize unexpected opportunities as well, which you've been doing.
Yeah.
These personality types tend to react to their environments rather than to try to control them, helping them make their own luck in whatever the world delivers. People with this trait hold that life is full of possibilities.
It is, y'all.
I agree. I feel like that's totally you. And then the feeling, so it would be feeling or thinking. And if you are more of a feeling personality, then you follow your hearts and emotions sometimes without even realizing it.
Well, I all but confessed that our last episode, didn't I?
Yeah. I read that and I was like, oh yeah, that's Ashley.
Ooh, I didn't even see all of this whenever I took it. Like, I've just gone back. I'm like, oh, I didn't see all of this. Because I'm curious what it says about my romantic relationship. Let's see if this tracks. Adventures are quite mysterious and difficult to get to know. Yeah. While very emotional individuals, they guard this sensitive core carefully, preferring to listen than to express. Boy, howdy. Yes, that's true. People with the adventurer personality type focus instead on their partners, with little interest in dictating the mood of a situation with their own feelings. It's so true. While this can sometimes be frustrating, if they are accepted for who they are, adventurers prove to be warm, enthusiastic partners. Well, yeah. That's so crazy.
Isn't it wild?
That really is.
So I'm looking at your strengths and weaknesses.
Tell me.
Some of your strengths, we already mentioned charming, which of course you are. You're super likable and lovable. That you're sensitive to others, which I think we have found on the podcast. That's absolutely true. Imaginative also totally tracks. Passionate. I have seen you become very passionate. I didn't know that about you initially. I mean,
Yeah.
I noticed the charming aspect and that you were, open to listen and feeling. But just in conversations that we've had on the mic and off the mic,
Yeah.
I've seen your passion rise to the surface, and it's been really exciting to see
Yeah.
that within you.
Yeah, I'm like an 8th Italian. And,
Are you really?
That Italian will come out at times.
Curious. I think you're totally curious, and I love that about you. I'm curious too. It's one of my favorite traits about myself, so I love seeing it in others too.
Yeah.
Artistic, of course. So yeah, all of these things I was like, yes, this is Ashley. This is why we're friends.
That is so crazy. Okay, so all right. Tell me my weaknesses. Let's see if this tracks too.
Okay. Fiercely independent.
Ooh, yeah.
Instead of saying weaknesses, let's just say challenges, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. Because I think these things can be good things too.
Yeah.
If you channel them the right way. So the other one is unpredictable.
Can be, yeah.
Easily stressed. Overly competitive?
I don't know. I don't think of myself as being overly competitive.
I was surprised by that one. I was like, this one might not be.
Yeah, because
Totally.
well, okay, I'll put it this way. My competition is me. Like,
Yes.
my competition is, am I being the best me I can? And if there's a way to be better, I am fiercely competitive. Like, we're going to do.
Time to level up.
Yeah.
So that totally tracks with the next one, which is fluctuating self-esteem.
Oh, snap.
But the fluctuation, you do go up though. You know, it's not saying that you have a negative self-esteem. It's just saying that you have moments where maybe self-doubt, which we've talked about, questioning, wanting to be better.
Yeah.
When, you know, I think you and I both have to remind ourselves and remind each other that we're worthy just as we are.
Yeah.
And completely loved. And
Yep.
your strengths, totally. I was like, yep, that's you.
That is so
that's
funny.
Ashley. Should we talk friendships?
Yeah. See if this tracks.
So it says, in friendship, adventurers are some of the most comfortable people to be around.
Does that track?
It totally tracks.
Yay.
Laid back and spontaneous, people with the adventurer personality type won't bog things down with arguments or structured long-term plans.
Somebody around here really doesn't like structure.
It says the here and now is what's important to adventurers, and they love spending time with their friends doing casual, fun activities.
100%.
Totally tracks. Yeah, I
Yes.
was like, yes, this is why we're friends.
Ooh, parenthood. Let's see.
Ooh.
Finding joy in the everyday. Adventurers' greatest strength is arguably the joy they take in being with and helping their loved ones.
Aw, I think
That's
that tracks.
Practical needs are taken care of from day one, and adventurers' children can always count on something exciting to do or to learn every day. People with the adventurer personality type love fun, hands-on activities, and as their children grow, they're often encouraged to pick up extra hobbies that revolve around those kinds of activities. Maybe why I'm getting my kids into all kinds of stuff this fall. Let's see. Even as those extra activities grow, adventurers often defy their introversion, spending time with their children and enjoying engaging activities that center on quality time. Impromptu trips, home improvement projects like repainting bedrooms. Not me just today thinking about repainting a bedroom. That's one of my children, but you know. Simply baking some treats together, or let's see, are likely to be fond memories for adventurers' children. Well, that's good, because I do that a lot. None of this is to say that adventurer parents are overbearing. In fact, they are one of the most relaxed personality types there is when it comes to parenting. Adventurers believe that the only way to really have their children grow up to be open-minded and well-balanced people is to let them explore and experience new things. Amen. Make mistakes and learn from them. Amen. And to always know that they'll be able to come home at the end of it. Double amen.
Oh, I love that.
Kids are not going to be able to do anything if they're not allowed to fail at home.
You can't win if you don't fail.
But I want them to fail at home where
Safely.
it's safe and they
Secure.
can fail with me. Today, okay, so I told Mandee this story. My sweet oldest, 8 years old, this last weekend, he comes running to my bedroom door this afternoon, and all he can get out of his mouth is, "It's on fire! It's on fire!" And I'm thinking, oh my God, what is on fire? And he's so stunned, he will not give me a location. I'm just running through the house looking for the fire. The fire was in the microwave, and he learned the hard way that you cannot put a Chick-fil-A sandwich in its wrapper in the microwave because the foil on the inside will catch fire. But you know what? That boy will never again put metal in a microwave. He learned. And he learned safely, and thank God he learned at home with me. And he doesn't feel bad about himself that he made that mistake or that he didn't know. We were able to laugh about it after we picked up his two younger siblings off the floor who were beside themselves. So, anyway.
I bet that was a quite adventurous afternoon for you, the adventurer.
That was a really scary 5 seconds.
I bet.
But it's all right.
I bet. So when it comes to the career world, that was a bit of a tongue twister. It says you need more than just a job. It says wealth, power, structure, advancement, and security are all lesser goals to your personality's greatest needs, which are creative freedom. Oh, it just is creative freedom.
Yeah.
That made so much sense to me. I was like, of course she's an entrepreneur. Of course she's a photographer and doing podcasts now because she has creative freedom in both.
See, and what's funny too is when I was a teacher, what I loved about teaching was the creativity. And funnily enough, I was good enough at teaching that I could teach on the fly and come up with amazing creative lessons on the fly. But what killed me about teaching was being in a building with a same schedule every single day, Monday through Friday. Did not like that. I felt very caged in. And then once I had Jackson, I'd already started the photography business, and as it grew and I was able to stay home, I mean, that once I tasted that autonomy and the ability to make the same amount of money in 2 hours off-site shooting that I would have taken 3 days teaching, you know. And of course, it's not just 2 hours on site. It's all the editing on the backside. But I can do that editing from my couch.
Right.
You know, and like that kind of thing. Once I caught a taste of that, there was just no way I could go back.
That's the interesting thing about being an entrepreneur. I love that you brought that up because sometimes there's a misconception of when you work and when you're not working and the value that's attached to that work.
Yeah.
I've never been a working photographer, but I understand the value behind it because even as a student, I knew how much work went on in the dark room. And then, you know, my friends that are current photographers, how much time they spend editing photos, not, you know, culling. Because you take so many pictures and then to find the right expression, right? And you're able to take them because the shutter speeds can move so fast now, so you can catch that perfect shot. But the time it takes to find that later to then show your client, you know, maybe 100 shots out of the thousands that you took that day, like that's so time consuming. And such a service to the client because if you were to send them those thousands of photos,
they'd be overwhelmed and they would likely miss the gems.
Correct.
You know, because I am very, I err on the side of delivering more because I know I usually in a gallery, you'll have a series of 3 photos that are very, very similar because I took, but I deliver them for them to choose from because the facial expressions are changed. And I don't know which one of those is going to mean more to you, but you do. So I have honed it into these 3. Pick that. I know there's one in there that's going to really like, man, like, yeah, that's their smile or that's that. I know that look. But yeah, if you gave them all of them, especially like for weddings, oh my goodness.
Ooh, yeah.
Be crazy.
Totally. So I love that you mentioned that because I think sometimes people just don't, if you've never been around it, if you've never worked with a photographer or know one personally to have those conversations, you don't think about it and you're like, why are they charging so much? Well, it is a lot more than even if it's like a 30-minute mini session that you're doing, there's still a lot of work that goes into it on the back end. So.
Absolutely. And you're also paying for their, you know, their expertise, their timeliness, their creativity, their vision, their knowledge, there's equipment that they have to use, there's insurance, we pay taxes, all the things.
It goes on to say that an easier route revolves around freelance and consulting work in just about any industry that you would enjoy, whether organizing charity events, working with hospitals to make patient stays more pleasant, laying stone to help make a house. Adventurers always seem to find a way to make the world a little bit more beautiful and exciting.
Oh, that makes my heart happy.
And to make a living in the process.
That makes my heart happy.
I got so much joy out of reading this about you when you sent me yours. I was like, oh my gosh, this is totally Ashley. Like, I love it.
See, and that's so funny because I just didn't see these long explanations the first go around. So this is really fun. So on mine, can I search what yours is and find these same things?
I think so. So I took this a while back. I haven't taken it again because each time that I've taken it,
it's come up the same one.
Yeah.
So I was like, I think this tracks. I think this is it. So I am the protagonist.
Okay.
So for Myers-Briggs people, that's an ENFJ. So I'm extroverted, intuitive, feeling, and judging. So I'm darn near opposite Ashley, except for the feeling trait.
Isn't that funny?
It is funny because we do get along so well.
Yeah.
But mine in the beginning says I feel called to serve a greater purpose in life. And that's totally true.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Thoughtful and idealistic, these personality types strive to have a positive impact on other people and the world around them.
100.
They rarely shy away from an opportunity to do the right thing, even when doing so is far from easy.
That's a good one.
It says that protagonists are born leaders, which explains why these personalities can be found among many notable politicians, coaches, and teachers.
Okay. Coach Mandee.
Their passion and charisma allow them to inspire others not just in their careers, but in every arena of life, including their relationships. Few things bring protagonists a deeper sense of joy and fulfillment than guiding friends and loved ones to grow into their best selves. As I start to cry.
All right. Well, as you choke back your tears over there, let's talk about your strengths and weaknesses. All right. Strengths. You are receptive. Protagonists have strong opinions, but they're far from closed-minded. They recognize the importance of allowing others to express themselves fully, which you give space for anyone that you meet to be completely them. Even when protagonists don't agree with someone, they recognize that person's right to voice their truth. Man, yes. Yes.
Thank you.
Reliable. Few things bother protagonists more than the prospect of letting down a person or cause that they believe in. People with this personality type can be counted on to see their promises and responsibilities through, even when it's difficult to do so.
That tracks.
They're passionate. Two passionate women in this room. Protagonists are far from being boring do-gooders. These types brim with interests, and they take great pleasure in pursuing their hobbies, whether that's hiking, cooking, dancing, growing houseplants, or something else entirely. As a result, they rarely find themselves at a loss for something interesting to do.
That's true.
Yep.
And I had a teacher in high school that would make us write a one-page essay if we ever said that we were bored in her classroom.
Good for her.
It was never a problem for me. I don't get bored.
Yeah.
If I said that, it was a lazy response about something that was it was a false statement.
Just maybe not interesting, or just you didn't care to do it.
Yeah.
Altruistic, yes. These personalities are known for harboring a deep desire to be a force for positive change. Man, it's like they wrote your personality down. Protagonists genuinely believe that if they bring people together, they can do a world of good. 100%.
Agreed.
Charismatic, determined, and inspiring, protagonists often find their way into leadership roles. Whether they're captain of their softball team or a leader on the world stage, they rarely lose sight of their main goal, to be of service to others. Might I remind us of one of our first episodes when we talked about you and your journey and your life and what you wanted, and it was to serve.
Amen.
So,
it's true. So can I talk about my weaknesses? Because
let's
I'm much
do
more
it.
comfortable with that. Unrealistic.
Aw.
Many protagonists put pressure on themselves to right every wrong they encounter. But no matter how hard these personalities strive, it just isn't realistic for them to solve all of the world's problems. It's so true. If they aren't careful, they can spread themselves too thin and be left unable to help anyone. That totally tracks. My mother would tell you she can usually tell by the tone of my voice when I'm about to hit that wall and have like a breakdown because I've pushed and pushed. I'm doing better as I've gotten older. I've become more aware of the self-care and boundaries of what's my responsibility and what's not. Yeah. But like that instinct to try to fix everything and other people's problems, it's still strong. There. I have to, which tracks with the next one, overly idealistic. Protagonists tend to have clear ideas about what's right and wrong. They often think that everyone shares these fundamental principles. Or at least that everyone should
Right.
share these principles. So it can come as a genuine shock when people violate their core values, such as truth or justice. That is so true. We've talked about it. I don't understand, and I know some of this is mental health, but I really don't understand how some people can hurt children.
Yeah.
Like it just does not compute in my brain. Mm-hmm. When I learn about, somebody that's abused a child, especially sexual abuse, and I'm sorry if I'm triggering anybody. I should have provided a trigger warning, but I just don't.
Yeah.
I can't fathom it. It
Right.
really, which I guess in some ways is a blessing because I just can't understand it. I don't think about it, but gosh, it's hard.
Yeah.
Condescending. Yeah, probably. Let's just skip that one.
Wait, what? People with this personality type enjoy teaching others, particularly about the causes and beliefs that matter so much to them. But at times, protagonists' attempt to enlighten others may come across as patronizing, not the most effective strategy for persuading other people.
It's not.
You
really
feel like
not.
you come across that way sometimes?
I'm sure I've done it. Positive, I've done that to somebody at some point, and probably without intention.
Yeah.
Maybe with intention, depending on the person.
But, or the situation, yeah.
And I think maturity, right? Like,
Yeah.
I'm sure I did this as a teenager. No doubt
man.
did this as a teenager and
Yeah.
a young adult. But now, I do try to, as it said in the beginning, I really do try to let other people's voices be heard and not to project my feelings or my beliefs
Yeah.
onto somebody else, even if I'm just like hardcore, this is my truth.
Yeah.
I've learned that I do gain more trust from the other person if I
Yeah.
can just hold on to that and not necessarily share it until I've really heard them.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's just wisdom and that's just holding space for other people. Now, are you intense, my friend?
Slightly intense.
When it comes to self-improvement, protagonists are rarely short on energy or determination, but they may not recognize that not everyone shares these qualities. At times, protagonists may push others to make changes that they aren't ready for or simply aren't interested in making in the first place.
Totally.
Yeah?
Totally.
Well, I think, your the course that you did, recently, like you showed me like a thing that you guys did in that course, and I could see a little bit of that intensity.
Well, there was a lot of intensity in that 8-week course.
Yeah.
There was. And it's true. I mean, I do. I find I relate to you when you said you are striving for self-improvement. Mm-hmm. I feel like that's like a lifelong goal for me. I don't think I'll ever like actually achieve
Right. Yeah.
like some state where I'm totally improved. Like that's
I
not
am the
point.
best I could ever be right now.
Yeah, that's not the point. I think Matthew McConaughey gave a speech on this once. Like he's always chasing the next version of himself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I think that I relate a lot to that because I feel like there's always more I can contribute. There's always more that I can do. And yes, I'm learning self-care and to back off a little bit. I have to do all of it tomorrow.
Yes. It can
I can have a 10-year plan, but overly empathetic. Yep.
Compassion.
Yep. I'm compassionate.
Yep.
And I do sometimes take on the weight of other people's problems. Again, boundaries, working on that. Working on it.
Ooh, let's get into the romantic stuff.
Oh, let's go for it. You start.
Let's see. Protagonists can be intense when it comes to matters of the heart, and they wouldn't have it any other way. People with this personality type rarely settle for anything that falls short of their ideals, and their romantic relationships are no exception. Although these personalities may come across as outgoing or even a bit flirtatious, few protagonists are satisfied by fleeting attractions. Their standards are high, and they know it. In fact, this awareness might give protagonists a deeper appreciation of just how rare and precious it is to feel a real spark with another person, and in turn, just how rare and special it is when that spark grows into the steady flames of true, abiding love.
All true.
Oh, man.
All true. I do have high standards. I didn't marry until I was 33. Is that right? 33, 34? I don't remember. I think I was 33. Turned 34 later that year. Dated a lot, but till I met Aaron, nobody stuck.
And it says that protagonists tend to, when they fall hard. Mm-hmm. Is that true?
That's true. That's true.
Let's
Serial
see.
monogamist.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Let's see.
Oh, this is funny. Even on the first date, these personalities may steer the conversation towards weightier topics. Oh my gosh.
Did you?
Date 2. I asked him if he had ever been married, if he had any children, if there were any children he possibly had that he didn't know about. I asked him if he owned his own house, if he owned his own car.
Good
I
for
asked him what his
you.
credit score was.
On date 2?
Yeah.
You asked credit score on
I
date
did.
2?
I did.
You know what, though?
High standards, remember?
Listen,
High
I
standards.
am for it, and I would even say, women, take notes.
I mean, well, did I mention I got bumped and bruised and knocked around a bit before? I learned a few things the hard way. However, I will say that I had a few guys that I dated prior to marrying my husband that were really wonderful humans that we just weren't meant to be married long term. And again, had the weighty, deeper discussions with them as well. But I had them later on in the relationship.
Yeah. Okay, y'all, listen. Now, I really never was in the dating game, if we're being just real. I mean, Bradley and I,
young.
we were so young. However, I do know this. Do not wait a year, 2 years into these relationships to have these conversations. I mean, date 2, I don't know, maybe date 3.
Maybe a bit early. Maybe.
But you know what? At the same time, you and I are probably very much alike in that I knew what I wanted, and I didn't date a bunch of guys in high school because I knew what I wanted. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, when you know what you want, you know what you want.
I did too. I knew what I wanted. And it's funny, like going way back to high school, FCA, Fellowship of Christian Athletes, one night. I don't know, there must have been about 40 kids there. And of course, some of my crushes were there at the time, but they had us make a list of our perfect partner as a teenager, like the things that we idealized. And I still have this somewhere. I don't know. I can't lay my hands on it right at the moment, but I do still have it. And whenever I met Aaron, he matched up with so many of them.
Aww.
I mean, I think one of them said something like he's a baseball player or something. Because I was in high school, right?
High school,
Which Aaron played softball as an adult. I mean,
Well,
it was,
there you go.
yeah, he wasn't currently playing. He quit like 3 months before we started dating.
Okay, that
though.
still counts.
Yeah, right. So it's like, it was really funny, the symmetry there, because it's like, even as a young person, like you're saying, you know what you want. You know what your interests are. If you know who you are. I feel like that's the thing, not to get super preachy about relationships or condescending or any of those other weaknesses that were on there, intense, whatever, but
challenges.
but I do think that it's important to know who you are.
Yes.
Before you go into a relationship and start digging in and looking for what you want in somebody else.
Because here's the deal. In a marriage, things they don't add, they multiply. Okay? Mm-hmm. So what happens when you multiply a half by a half?
Tell me, math teacher.
Well, it don't equal 1. It does not equal whole. It's less than. It's a quarter. So this whole idea that you can get married and somebody can complete you, it can just no, that's not how that works. You need to be whole and complete before, if possible, before going into a marriage. Because if you go in half and then he comes in half, everything in a marriage will multiply. And you're going to just
have challenges.
You're going to have some challenges.
So it wraps up with this. It says protagonists care about pleasing their partner, and their sensitivity helps them tune into their partner's shifting moods and desires. As long as they don't lose track of their own needs, people with this personality type can enjoy incredibly rewarding relationships that are founded on trust, mutual support, and honesty. And of course, love.
Does that track?
That does track. And
Yeah.
I can tell you, I do have a tendency, not just in my romantic relationship with my husband, but in other relationships too. I often put other people's needs before my own. And I was talking to one of my mentors and friends about it this weekend. And I mean, she had me in tears because she was like, girl, you got to take care of Mandee first.
Mm-hmm.
Like you want to help all these other people in your life and all of these women that you know and everyone. But if you're not taking care of you,
Yeah.
you can't take care of them.
No,
If
because
your
you've
cup's
got
not
to,
full.
and you've got to put your mask on first before you can help anybody else. And here's, well, anyway, I'm going to, nope, keep on going.
You can. Say it.
Well, it's just, I heard an interesting perspective on that whole idea of like when you're on a plane and like the masks drop, you have to put on your mask first before you help somebody else. And typically that's to help a child. But here's the thing. Everybody on that plane has a mask. So it's not even always your responsibility to provide the mask or provide the oxygen. It's provided. Sometimes we have to let people reach for their own damn mask.
Amen.
All right.
Thank you for that perspective.
Unless they're a child or a minor, and then you help them.
After you put yours on first.
After you put yours on first. So, yep. Okay, friendships. All right. Connecting with other people makes protagonists feel alive and purposeful.
Yes.
It's no surprise then that they are anything but apathetic about friendship. Protagonists put sincere, dedicated effort into staying close with their friends. For these personalities, friendships are far from expendable or insignificant. Instead, they are a key component of a life well lived.
Amen.
A wealth of perspectives. Already, yes. Already, I know. Few personality types can match protagonists' sincere desire to get to know people. For protagonists, discovering someone's quirks and opinions and hopes and follies is one of life's purest pleasures, which totally explains why you got pleasure out of reading about my personality.
I did. I so enjoyed it.
Most protagonists can't help but be fascinated by other worldviews, which you totally are, even those with which they wholeheartedly disagree. True. Encountering a wealth of perspectives is what keeps life interesting for these types. This is like giving me words for what I've already noticed in you.
Like my desire to travel?
Well, and just you are genuinely curious about other worldviews and you hold space for those views. And I can't imagine you ever making someone feel like their views are less than because they are different than yours.
True.
So, let's see. That said, most protagonists find it difficult to respect anyone who takes shortcuts, disrespects others, or refuses to challenge the status quo.
Yep.
Yes. Instead, they find it easiest to connect with people who share their core ideals, particularly their commitment to doing the right thing and leaving the world better than they found it.
Like people who make the world prettier.
No. Let's see. It is with these closest friends that protagonists truly open up, sharing their vulnerabilities and their most precious dreams of their lives. These personalities maintain warm, caring, and supportive connections with many people, but they tend to show their full selves, including their insecurities, only to an inner circle of friends who have earned their trust. True?
I think that's true. Do you think that's true?
I do. Yeah. I do. Through thick and thin, protagonists can be among the best friends anyone could wish for. Kind-hearted and trustworthy people with this personality type dedicate incredible amounts of energy and attention to their friendships. They want their friends to feel not merely validated, but supported. Not merely heard, but understood. Can I just play them the voice message that you left me earlier today?
When you read that, I thought that tracks with what I sent her earlier today.
Yes,
Yeah.
it does. Yep.
Yeah.
They can be trusted to show up in ways both large and small. Yeah. Whether by taking time after a grueling day at work to help a friend spruce up their resume, or by putting together a weekend-long destination birthday party for a friend who needs a boost, nothing makes protagonists happier than seeing the people they care about doing well. And few things could stop them from trying to make that happen.
So that's very true. I love showering my friends with attention and care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then here's a good piece for you. Finding balance. This is so funny to me. This is like reading both of our books.
I know.
While protagonists enjoy lending a helping hand, they aren't always happy with the results. The truth is that some people don't have the energy or the drive to take full advantage of protagonist offers of help, or they simply might not want to. For example, their friend might ignore that resume advice, or they might decide to kick kick back and relax instead of using that new resume to send out job applications. When this happens, people with the protagonist personality type may feel unappreciated, frustrated, or resentful. They may even become judgmental in an effort to push their friend forward, an approach that all too often backfires.
I've broken up with guys over things like this. Seriously, though, I would see so much potential in them, and I am so ambitious and driven and whatever that, like, I could see them being literally the world's greatest photographer, and they had the personality and the love and the kindness and the, like, generosity and just the amazing. Mm-hmm. But they didn't want that for themselves.
Yeah, and that is frustrating.
And I wanted to just shove them forward, and then finally I woke up one day and I was like, this person is not for me, because I will be frustrated for the rest of my life trying to push them towards a dream that is not their own.
Yeah.
And that's not okay.
But you know what? Aren't you so glad you, like, recognized that before you, like, went to the altar?
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Because I can now sit on the sidelines and appreciate where they're at in life and see them happily married with somebody that does better serve them in life. And I can just be truly genuinely happy for both of them, and watch them thrive together and know that I was meant to have a small part in his life at that time and he was in mine, and I'm a better person for it.
Yeah.
And also, he's an even better person for having married the woman that he did.
See how that works?
So cool. We can skip parenthood.
But to your kitty cats.
Yeah.
All right, career paths. When it comes to choosing a career, protagonists find fulfillment in doing what they love most, helping other people. And with their creativity and drive, they can find ways to serve and uplift others in nearly any work environment, whether they're behind a gleaming table in a corporate boardroom or behind the counter at a beloved local coffee shop.
Yeah, that tracks.
Yep.
That tracks.
I think you could put Mandee Montana just about anywhere, and she's just going to be her beautiful self.
Well, thank you.
Earning their place. Thanks to their emotional intelligence and social skills, protagonists can excel in nearly any people-oriented field, such as human resources, event management, recruiting, or public relations. That said, they tend to feel especially motivated in positions where they can guide others to learn, grow, and become more independent. Many people with this personality type gravitate towards careers with an altruistic bent, such as social work, teaching, counseling, coaching, healthcare, or public interest law.
Does that track? That tracks.
I think so.
I think that tracks.
Rather than fading into the background, protagonists are known for their leadership abilities, and they often find themselves in positions of influence. These personalities can be found in public office and at the helm of all sorts of organizations, from nonprofits and religious groups to scrappy startups. Scrappy startup! And corporate empires. Next step. They may also find themselves in jobs as consultants, advisors, and managers. Okay, now I'm fully in love with scrappy startup.
I know, right? I was like, yes,
we're
that's
scrappy.
Us. That's us. We're scrappy.
Yeah. Wherever they work, protagonists rarely lose sight of their core mission: to improve people's lives. They intuitively pick up on needs of their clients or customers, and then they draw on their creativity to meet these needs in innovative, unexpected ways. As a result, these types are able to bring sincerity, integrity, and even idealism to jobs in sales, customer service, marketing, advertising, and product development.
Interesting.
Interesting.
Isn't it?
It's almost like it knows your personality.
Almost just like it.
Finding the deeper issues. Focused and driven people with the protagonist personality type are always up for a good challenge. That said, certain challenges motivate them more than others. Work that is repetitive, isolated, or otherwise constrained can be frustrating for them.
Extremely.
Protagonists want to see the impact they're having, not to plug away at tasks all on their own. Yeah?
That's really true.
Yeah.
That's true. This is the fact that fulfilled protagonists feel fulfilled and energized by work that allows them to step back and reflect on the big picture is 100% true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because this is a big thing for me. You know, I don't have kids. And it says for these types, leaving a positive legacy is a key priority. I won't do that with children.
Yeah.
Most likely. I mean, things could happen, but it's unlikely that I will probably have children. And so I do think about that. I think, like there's a reason why God put me on this earth.
Yeah.
And it's not to just hang out.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not just to experience beauty and love and the things around me. I think that those are part of it.
Right.
But I think that also like there's a purpose and
Yeah.
I'm supposed to do things to further that purpose.
Yep.
And so, yeah.
Yep. And I think too, legacy can be, I love that word. And I think it can be a heavy word and like a weighty thing.
For sure.
But I think that whether or not when you are gone from this earth, you have your name on a building or, whatever, your legacy is the seed that you plant in everybody's heart that you're around.
Yeah. I don't need my name on a building.
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
like, I think often about my journalism teacher. She was much more than that. She was our yearbook advisor and our psychology teacher, but she was also like another mom to me. And she passed away at a young age. I mean, she's about my mom's age, and she was killed. She was killed in a car accident. But I don't know that that her name will ever be on a building. It might be. There's kind of some effort to do that. But the number of people that showed up at her funeral, the number of kids that she taught that came from all across the country that flew in to remember her and to honor her. I mean, talk about a legacy.
That is legacy.
It was powerful. And I mean, the fact that I'm talking about her right now, you know, like she made such a massive impact. And so it's like, she was a really, obviously a big influence in my life. But if I can leave a small portion of the influence behind that she left on me and anyone, it feels like legacy,
Well, and I think, in contrast to that, I think how beautiful it is, one of her students that she loved sitting in a room on a mic, honoring her. And yet there are those whose names are on buildings that you couldn't pay 10 people to show up, to there. And I'm not thinking of anybody specific. I'm just saying, in contrast, like sometimes I think we think that legacy means those big, grandiose things, when really the big things are this right here. Yeah. Sitting and talking and remembering,
Yeah. So I tracked ahead because I want to ask you about this a little bit.
Okay.
It says, as colleagues, protagonists stand out for their desire to collaborate. This is under workplace habits.
Okay.
They are always on the lookout for opportunities to create win-win situations and help their coworkers where everyone, whatever their job title, can feel comfortable expressing their opinions and ideas.
For sure.
does that not describe the podcast?
Yeah. That's like the whole, that's just it.
And the whole reason I couldn't do it on my own. You kept encouraging me to do this on my own, and it just never felt right. It wasn't something that I felt called to do on my own. I didn't want it to be about me.
Yeah.
This actually feels pretty uncomfortable. If I didn't have your insight, and contrast, and I'd much rather talk about you. So this is a little bit uncomfortable, but I didn't want to start a podcast that was just about myself.
Yeah.
That felt very self-serving, and it felt like, not that I don't have value to bring to the world, because I know that I do.
Right.
But also, like, conversation to me is more valuable. Having contrast to my ideas and allowing somebody else to come up with their own idea and their own opinion, to me, is much more valuable than somebody just listening to me and agreeing with everything I say.
Yeah. But that right there is just such a rarity. I mean, we live in this world that just, everybody look at me and listen to me, and, and it's to find somebody that not only allows for that, but seeks it out.
Yeah.
You're just pretty special.
Thank you.
You're so special.
Thank you. Well, can I shift gears now and share something else with you that I thought was special?
Sure.
So I posted on our Facebook that if anybody wanted to participate, that they could take the test and they could share as well. And this really sweet friend of mine that I met actually through that course, UHPW, which stands for Unleash Her Power Within. It's a Tony Robbins course. We met through that. She saw that I posted it. She was like, oh, I love personality quizzes. Let me go take this. And she said she'd done Myers-Briggs before and that it was pretty close. So she emailed us her results. Hers was INFJ. So she's just one letter off from me.
Interesting.
She's the advocate, is what they call it on this website. She says, while I'm very introverted, I absolutely adore people and am lit up when I do workshops and am interacting with people. And that's true from what I know of her. She said, thank you for posting in Facebook. It was a good reminder for me of my skills and attributes that make me who I am and why what I do is so important to me, which is part of, and I feel the same way about this. It's part of the reason why I take these is sometimes I need to be reminded of my strengths and weaknesses. Sometimes I need to be reminded of where I need to lean in a little bit and where I can growth opportunities. And also I like reading about my friends so that I can help amplify their strengths and maybe in some way offer some strengths to their weaknesses or their challenges.
Yeah. And I think just understanding, so with the Strengths Finder personality test, my number one personality trait was context.
Really?
Yes. And so for me, things like this, it gives me so much context to who a person is, because I don't believe you can take anything just at face value. There's so much more that you have to look at to really understand a situation and to understand a person. And so I love this because it, situations aren't that simple. People aren't simple. They have a lot of context. And unless you're curious enough to find out what that is, you're going to be missing a piece of the puzzle.
For sure.
And we're not saying that a personality test is the be all end all, whatever, but it is a great place to start, Yeah. Because even for me reading this, I'm like, oh, that puts words to something that, because I don't sit and think about what's my personality type. I don't know. I'm not one to sit and think about that very often. But when I have it like written in front of me, it's like, oh, it helps me understand me. And when there's some people that you're great at understanding other people and being compassionate, but we're not great about understanding ourselves. And I think sometimes we forget that unless we understand ourselves really well, we're not going to be able to see others very well.
Totally true. Totally true. And thank you, Kathleen, for participating. That was really sweet.
Yeah, that's fun. Thank you.
Really sweet of you to participate and share. And, I would just encourage anyone, for the same reasons that Ashley just described, to go take this for yourself, especially if you're having a moment in life where you're frustrated or you're maybe not sure what the next step is, or maybe you're looking for a job and you're not finding the right, the right thing isn't readily showing up for you. I would encourage you to go do this. It offers some self-reflection, some introspection, and it gives you a chance to go, oh, okay, well, maybe I'm applying for the wrong career.
Yeah.
Maybe I would be better served and better serve other people if I were to take this other path. It's very clear that I'm not supposed to be like an IT analyst.
Yeah.
Like that would not be a job unless I'm leading a team of analysts that are, just incredibly talkative and cheerful people. That's probably
and positive and changing the world.
Yeah, that's probably not going to be the best move for Mandee. I mean, there might be a rare exception, but that's pretty clear. So I would encourage you to go check it out. It's 16 personalities, 16personalities.com. There's others out there, just like the Clifton Strengths Finder. Are you curious to know what mine was?
Yeah.
My number one?
What?
Input.
Really?
Which means I'm a sponge. It means I take in information everywhere. From all things.
Tracks 100%.
The second one was learner.
Oh, yeah. When I did the Strengths Finder, Bradley took it as well. And it's something that we continue to go back to, because it helps us understand each other.
Right.
He knows I need context. It's, and I know that his number one is responsibility.
Ooh.
So he feels it heavy. And so that helps me kind of help him. And, I don't know. I just like the love languages, like when you know your spouse's love language, it helps you, whatever. So
offer love in a way that they can better receive it.
In a way that they want to receive it, not the way that you want to give it.
That's another episode that we ought to get into at some point. It's been a long time since I've read or listened to the book. I think I downloaded the audiobook years ago, and I think I was physical touch.
Were you?
And I don't know if you've noticed that about me when I'm around people, but it's part of why COVID was really hard on me is I might not even know you well, and I'm probably going to pat you on the arm.
Aw, yeah.
Or I'm going to side hug you when I meet you, or
Yeah.
at least minimum shake your hand.
Yeah.
But if I really know you, you're probably getting a bear hug. And you might get a back rub.
Yeah.
And like those kinds of things. Like
Yeah.
I gravitate towards it and I'm attracted to it. I think, I speak other love languages as well, but that one's a big one for me.
Yeah. See, for me, it's, what's funny is the first few times that I took the test, maybe the first time I took it, I noticed like, I'm not being honest. And it's because my number one is gifts. But I was like, well, that's selfish, but it's not give me. It's, when someone gives me a gift, even if it's, hey, I got you a glass of tea from McAllister's, in my brain, I'm like, in all of the things that you had to do today, you thought to get me a glass of tea?
Right.
Like, that just means so much to me. And vice versa, when I go and I'm trying to pick out a gift for someone, it is frustrating beyond belief when I can't find just the right thing for them.
You care so deeply about it.
Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, and physical touch is the last thing.
Is it? Yeah. But I think it's interesting. I think they can shift and change too over time. And it's been a lot of years. That was probably 12 or 13 years ago. I really should take the test again.
Yeah.
And see where I come out, because it could have shifted, but at the time, that's where I was at. So
yeah, I think it's just good to do these things. It's not gospel, and there's room, like we saw. There's little things like you eat the chicken, you spit out the bones. But like it's just good. I think it's a good starting place to know ourselves, so that we can kind of recognize things in other people, be the best versions of ourselves as we can be. Who would have thought I'm an adventurer?
I was like, oh yeah, this is totally Ashley the whole time. I was like, and I just sat here and giggled. It just gave me so much joy.
It's like, nailed it.
Yes.
That's awesome.
But I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for this podcast. I was at a leadership conference this weekend, and several people, kind of asked me what was going right in my life right now, or what did I have to be thankful for, or whatever. And I repeatedly shared that this has been such an incredible journey, and I feel like it's just the beginning.
Yeah.
But it's really done a lot for me personally. It's been very uplifting, and I wouldn't be here doing it if it weren't for you and your vision and where it all began. And so if you're new to the podcast and you're curious about all of that, please go back to the beginning, because we do tell the story of how this came together. We interview each other in the first 3 episodes too. So if you're new to the podcast and you're just tuning in and you're curious about those things, we do have it there for you. It's all at the very beginning.
Yep. Go binge it.
We encourage binging of podcasts.
Yes.
Well, thank you, babe. This is fun.
Thank you. Love you.
Love you too.
The Celebrating Women podcast wants to hear from you. Find us on social media at facebook.com/Celebrating Women Podcast, or on Instagram, search Celebrating Women Podcast. You can also email us a voice message to celebratingwomenpodcast@gmail.com. We would love to hear your story, or the story of an incredible woman you know. Send it to celebratingwomenpodcast@gmail.com. The Celebrating Women podcast has been presented by Hand & Stone Massage and Facial Spa in Tyler. Book your appointment today. Stop by the spa in Cumberland Shopping Center, or online at handandstonetyler.com. The Celebrating Women podcast is created and hosted by Mandee Unkefer and Ashley Fisher. Thank you so much for listening, and don't forget to subscribe to the Celebrating Women podcast.